Good to have you with us tonight. Okay, I'm gonna get settled here and dive in. Yeah, okay. So tonight is a night I've been looking forward to for a while. I love these nights when we get to do Spirit and Truth webinars. Hello to everybody that's joining us right now. If you're signing into Facebook, it's good to see you. We have a great guest with us tonight. And so I want to just encourage you as you're signing into Facebook to drop us a comment, let us know where you're watching from, and share, hit share. That's really important. Hit share so that more people get to see this webinar tonight. We actually have some webinar attendees that are inside this Zoom webinar with Harvest. So what's going to happen, if you're not familiar with these webinars, what's going to happen is we're going to be live on Facebook for about 30 minutes or so. And then we're going to disappear and spend the rest of the hour just with our attendees so that they have some exclusive time with Harvest and myself. We're going to have some more conversation. We're going to answer questions. And if you are just hearing about this, you can still get in our webinar. All you have to do is click, we'll drop the link in the comments, or you can just if you go to Access Worship International on social media, on our Facebook page or our Instagram page, we put the link everywhere so you can find it there as well. But it's called a free backstage pass. It's absolutely free. It takes like 2 seconds to register, and then you can be inside the webinar for the full hour. We have a great time when we do these. Last month we did this with Catherine Mullins. The month before that we had John Thurlow. So we've been having a great time with these special times of Q&A inside the webinar. So why not go for it? We'd love to have you in here with us tonight. And if you didn't know about that, that's probably because either you're not signed up for our emails or you're not following us on social media. So make sure you do that. Access Worship International is easy to find on Facebook, on Instagram. Go to our website, accessworshipinternational.com. And from there, you can sign up to receive our emails, and we will let you know when we do really awesome free stuff like this that you can get in on with us. And we love to have you. I'm almost done with my little preliminary spiel. Make sure you're sharing. If you're watching, share this to your Facebook page. Drop us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. We do always archive these Spirit and Truth webinars. So in a few weeks, this one will be on our YouTube channel. And there's a ton of awesome Spirit and Truth webinars that you can find there. So I would encourage you to check that out as well. Check out our YouTube channel. And while you're there, you know what I'm going to say next. While you're there, subscribe, click the notification bell. We are determined to get to 1,000 subscribers. If we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, there's some really cool features that open up for us as a nonprofit that we would love to take advantage of. So please do us a favor and subscribe. That would help us out tremendously. Access Worship International is a nonprofit ministry, and we are super passionate about equipping and empowering worshipers, worship leaders, singers, musicians, lovers of Jesus. And one of the ways we do that is by free content like this. We also have online courses. We do worship team trainings. You can check all of that out on our website, accessworshipinternational.com. If you want to become a supporter, you can do that on our website as well. You can make a donation there if you like, but otherwise just enjoy tonight's conversation that we're going to have, because we're going to get into some really good stuff with our amazing guest and my friend Harvest. She got married about the same time I did. So her new last name is Grapevine, but most of you know her as Harvest Bashta. And Harvest, we're super excited to have you with us tonight. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Gosh, Kalani, you're so good at this. It's like, is she reading off of a paper? You sound like a newscaster. You're just
wow.
Dun. Professional.
I've done it a few times now, so I've started to get at least
in the groove.
Decent.
I like it. I'll sign up for anything that you're saying. You convinced me.
Thanks a whole bunch. Well, I do have a few notes, but that's just to kind of keep me on course. So cool to have. What's funny is I actually saw on my 1 year ago memories thing that Facebook does for us.
Mm-hmm.
It showed that, so we did a Spirit and Truth webinar with you last year on March the 10th.
Really?
Tonight is March the 9th. So it was like a year,
Yeah.
almost the date since we did.
That was the one where I was like, I felt the Lord say, go back to the field, go back to the field, like where David begun. And then COVID happened and we all went back to
We
the
went
field.
back to the field. Yeah, you were prophesying unbeknownst to you in that moment. That was very
Yeah.
well timed for sure.
Yeah.
So you've
Yeah.
actually done
Amazing.
some, since then we've done a few other things together. You did
Mhm.
we did a free worship leader webinar with you and Josh Baldwin.
Yeah.
Not I don't remember when that was. And then there was one other thing we did together. Trying to remember. Oh, I know. It was when we did our online course, Worship Leader Essentials Volume 1. We
Yeah.
did
Yeah. Yeah.
a webinar with one with you and one with Don Potter for our students.
Gosh,
So,
it's like you like me or something. It's
well,
like
we
we're
do.
friends
We
and
really do. Like you
you
are.
trust my opinion about things. It feels really good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, we do. We're grateful for the friendship with you and for your heart and for the things
Thank you.
that you bring when you share with us. It's always it's valuable, and we appreciate that and want to connect students and connect worshipers with people out there who are like-hearted and
Yeah.
like-spirited with us. And so we're going to get into some really good conversation tonight.
Yay. Let's do it.
Looking forward to that.
And precursor, if you hear snoring in the background, it's because she just totally passed out. I,
Oh,
I have a new puppy and I guess she's exhausted because it's pretty loud. So just that's what that is.
hey, listen,
If you hear it.
I changed locations tonight. I'm normally like in the living room in front of my bookshelves because that's like the most.
It looks the best for
It
sure.
looks the best. But what happens a lot of times is my dog, Annabelle, who's 13, she's an old girl and she gets so weird sometimes when I do these and acts up, and it's crazy. So I've
Right.
noticed that if I come back here into the office, she seems a lot more chill. And so
Yeah.
eventually she'll probably come in here and just lay on the floor and snore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Perfect.
it'll be
Have a
awesome.
snore party.
Snore party. Well, listen, I know we've been through some of your background before, but for the
Mhm.
sake of some people who are probably new and haven't heard your story before, why don't you just take us through a journey with Harvest, like how kind of your backstory with Jesus and with worship a little
Yeah.
bit?
Cool. Well, I grew up in Louisiana in this small charismatic church, and my mom was on the worship team, and my dad was preacher, prayer leader, you know, mobilizing people for missions. So like my whole life was from the very beginning super deep in ministry, and you know
Yeah.
went to all the 24-hour prayer nights, and my mom would just roll out a sleeping bag for me in the back. And I never knew anything else but that. And I just grew to love the Lord. I just had a relationship with him. I had conviction of the Holy Spirit even from a young age. And there was just never a time where I didn't like know God was real, and I didn't, that I knew he was with me. And I would say, my worship leader journey, some people ask like, hey, did you just like grow up and like from the time you were a kid, like you wanted to sing and it was your dream to sing and write songs and do music? And the answer is like, absolutely not. I really, I didn't really care for music. I didn't even know I could sing really until I was 16, but my real heart was ministry and specifically prayer. I graduated early and we lived right next to the church, and I was there 4 hours a day in the prayer room because I just felt this burning in my heart. My dad kind of raised me with prayer and revival stories, and just we would kind of egg egg each other on with just like, man, let's just ask God to come in revival. And, oftentimes it would
Wow.
just be like me and my dad and like one other old lady in the prayer room, but like we were going after it,
Yeah.
and I really didn't feel this call to music or to worship until I was 16, and the worship leader couldn't come to the prayer meeting we were holding that night. And so one of the pastors was like, I guess because my mom played piano, they're like, Harvest, you're musical. Why don't you go on up there? And I'm like, no, I don't play. I'm a prayer leader. Like, I can't do this. And I don't know how, but somehow I ended up behind the piano, and I played 3 chords. For 2 hours, I played the same 3 chords. And, I love the word. And I just started making up choruses on the spot. And like,
Mm.
it was terrifying when I started. And then at the end of that 2-hour session, I was like, yeah, I want to do that for the rest of my life. And so I kept doing it. I kept going to the prayer room 4 hours a day. Eventually I began leading in corporate services at our church, which is like a totally different ballpark as far as like leading intimate prayer sets to all of a sudden leading with a band with like
Right.
hundreds of people, and everyone in the band are guys, and you're like, this 18-year-old girl trying to communicate to, a 47-year-old guitar player. I don't know anything. It was just like, let's just press into the Holy Spirit. So I just relied on the Holy Spirit. What I lacked in technique, I just asked for the Holy Spirit to come, and I would throw up on Saturday nights because I was so nervous. And
Oh,
we had the equipment that, practice was fine, and then somehow between the 2-minute period between when practice ended and church started, our whole sound system would explode, and then we wouldn't have bass or lead vocal. So it's like I've gone through all the training grounds of what you need to say, like, man, I remember those days. I did that. I remember when this happened, and
yeah.
I moved to Atlanta when I was 20. And that's when I started kind of collaborating with my brother, Daniel Bashta. And he was like, hey, let's like get an EP out there. So I came out with my first EP, Make Us Ready. And from then on, it was just, writing. This is what I love doing. I kind of just began leading different churches, different conferences and places. And, I can honestly say that this was never something premeditated. It was always something where I just stayed faithful to Jesus, and a door opened, and I asked if I should go through it. And if he said yes, I did. And then it progressed into something else. And so I'm actually probably the worst person at promoting myself and trying to like sell the brand or the music or whatever. I'm just like, I don't care,
Yeah.
and and it's just been amazing. I'm 31 now, and where God has taken me from just those younger years of loving the prayer room and feeling called to the prayer room, and the ups and downs of
Mm-hmm.
feeling pressure from the outside world to do something or be something more, or try to pursue different paths. I can really say from my heart that when you stay close to Jesus, he's going to make the path really clear. And I've kind of come full circle as far as being birthed out of the prayer room, kind of pursuing the more professional side. And right now I'm at the age, I'm at the place where my heart is back to, man, I want to build a house of prayer and worship in my church and give my life to that. And so kind of
Yeah.
come what may, through songwriting, through traveling, through albums and different things. But I feel like I've finally like arrived in my lane, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna run until I'm 80 or
Come on.
90, you know?
Yeah.
So that was that in a nutshell.
So you mentioned, and I see posts from time to time of you. I believe it's at your church that you're
Yeah.
currently a part of, where you're doing like prayer sets.
Yeah.
What's that like? Is that a weekly thing that you're doing?
Yeah. So man, I remember, we were doing prayer room even before like I knew what IHOP was, and then I found IHOP probably in like the early 2000s, and kind of got a vision and a model for what that could be like. And so it's always, and there's tons of stuff now. There's Upper Room, and there's houses of prayer popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just feel like in my church, we have an amazing worship pastor there, and a lot of talented people. And it kind of was a perfect setup for my church. I started attending there about 3 years ago, and it was like, man, there's already an incredible worship pastor in place, and it actually allowed me to do the thing that I felt called to, which is Sunday mornings taken care of. The other ministries are taken care of, like what's my position on the team. And it was like the house of prayer. And so we started it last year, and it's been kind of up and down with the pandemic, but right now we have just Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings, and we're hoping to just grow the team and add more times. And I always say to the little team that I have, I'm like, I'm not afraid of a small prayer meeting. Like, I am not afraid of a small prayer meeting, because those small prayer meetings have proven to shake history and move heaven. And I'm like, let's go. I'll be there on my piano, prophesying, praying, singing to the city of Atlanta. And like I said, you'll find me here when I'm 80 years old and can hardly play. Like, I believe God's raising up a house of prayer for Atlanta, and partnering with churches and different worship leaders. And so it's just this small little embryo, but God's beginning to breathe on it, and we're creating a culture of prayer at my church. And so it's called pray.atl on Instagram.
Okay.
If you want to check it out. But we're just loving what God's doing, and people that don't know about that environment are becoming aware, and they're just getting addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most exciting thing I can see, is someone that thinks prayer is boring and stale and just like a routine ritual that we have to do, to saying, oh man, when's the next one? I got to go again. Because it is, the presence of God is addicting, like once you've tasted it. And so seeing my church come alive in that is like, it's happening.
Yes.
So
I love it. That's incredible. And I mean, I'm thinking back to like just times in the prayer room here in my city. And because I went through a season where I was deeply immersed in Jack's Hop is what we call it, Jacksonville House of Prayer. And just ministering to the Lord, ministering to Jesus, and kind of coming back to that place. I'm guessing from hearing you talk, what you just said, Harvest, that of all the places or atmospheres or settings where you've been a worship leader, be it a Sunday morning or a conference, or seems like that house of prayer is really where you'd rather be. And I think, Jesus actually, he said, quoting the Old Testament, my house will be called a house of prayer. And I think it's good for us to remember that and ask ourselves, what does that mean?
Right.
What does that mean for even from my life? I know. And I texted Harvest weeks ago when I first picked up a new book by Jeremy Riddle called The Reset. Like I got through the introduction of the book, and I was like so messed up. I texted you, and I texted other people like, oh my gosh.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. There's part of me, I've just been lazy and not ordered it. I just need to put it in my shopping cart and order it. But part of me, I'm realizing there's like the subconscious part. I'm terrified to read it. I mean, I'm like, I have a holy fear of like what Jeremy is saying is going to wreck me so bad, because it's going to put language to things that God has been speaking to me for years, and things to where I'm like, I thought I was the only one. And have you ever read books like that, or whatever, when you're just like, it just hits the marker, like, I've been saying this for years, and God's been doing this in my heart, and to have someone else say it, it's like, I need to set aside a time where I can be fully wrecked and just take it all in at once. And I'm so thankful. I've read some of his excerpts on Instagram, and I can't think of a more timely message right now that worship leaders and people involved in the Christian worship world that we need to hear. Like, we need a reset button. Even the name of the book, I'm like, you could go on for 30 minutes about the name. We need to reset. And so it's on my list. It is on my list. I'll just say that.
Listen, I've been going real slow and journaling a lot, and our worship team is going through it together, actually. And it's actually like the conversation that's coming from that has been really good. And challenging, but like causing us as a team to kind of evaluate, like, what are we doing and why, and what have we lost along the way. And I'm sensing there's a lot of worship leaders that I know who are doing the same thing, which excites me, because it's like, okay, the Lord he's in this. His timing is on this. I've been trying to like every week put out a little video and just share from my heart things that the Lord's saying to me, which for me is a bit terrifying because it's vulnerable, but doing it. And
yes.
And I was sharing a few weeks ago about this picture that, I mean, of course, I live in Jacksonville, so I live near the beach. And when I first moved here, gosh, forever ago, 2004, when I first moved here, I was excited, and I was like, I'm finding an apartment at the beach. I was very excited about living close to the ocean. So I did. I lived in this cute little apartment with like a pink stucco out.
Yes.
Totally beachy. And so that first summer, you could hardly peel me away. I like every chance I got, I wanted to be out there, and how it is. But so the first summer, I got to observe something called surf camp. And so it was for kids, and teenagers. And it was so funny because there'd be all these instructors out there early in the morning, and they've got these kids out there with all their little surfboards. And it's not even like Jacksonville Beach has like amazing waves to begin with, but so these kids are out there and they're trying to line them up, and basically they're teaching them, the fundamentals of how to get on your board. But one of the first things they had to learn was how to get in the right position and anticipate the wave, so that when the wave came, they could actually catch it. Because if you're not rightly positioned ahead of time, you'll miss it. And the Lord, really spoke to me about that then, and he's been speaking to me about it recently again, of just how I feel like kind of with what Jeremy's saying through his book, and others that I'm hearing, and even like Harvest, which you just said about, being in the prayer room and what's happening in your community. Like, my sense is the Lord really is positioning us for like a worship reformation, for a real reset, and kind of, it's like stripping things away and bringing us back to that raw place that we had in the beginning of it all. I know for me, like I and I guess for you too, I mean, I'm older than you, but like in my lifetime, I watched this worship movement that we call the modern worship movement or whatever. That whole thing unfolded since I've been alive. Like since I was a teenager, and seeing where we are now, there's a lot of wonderful things about where God has brought us, and the creativity and the beautiful things. But at the same time, there's definitely a need to get back to the heart of it all, and like the purity of worship. So I feel like the Lord is repositioning us, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I believe there are waves coming, if you want to call them worship waves.
Come on, little Bob Sorge riding in the river.
Following the river, being ready to ride the waves when they come. So now is the time to be preparing our hearts and let him do what he needs to do, even if it's painful. Like resetting a bone is a painful thing. so that it can heal properly and so we can be strengthened. So
Yeah. I know we're going to transition real quick, but just to tag along what you said,
yeah.
I've felt very clear from the Lord, and I kind of heard it out of nowhere, but he said, um, come down from there and come up here.
Mm,
And in my early prayer, house of prayer days, in my youth, I would just devour Song of Solomon, just
yeah.
because International House of Prayer, all about end times and intimacy, end times and intimacy. So I was like
Mm,
16-year-old reading Song of Solomon, just being like, I'm the bride, you've ravished my heart, Lord, And recently I've heard that from the Lord of come down from there, which is out of Song of Solomon 4:8. And he's saying, come down basically from these mountaintops.
mm,
And he's saying to descend, and it says from the lion's dens and the mountain caves where like the leopards are, basically the dangerous places. And I've felt the Lord in my own journey through, like, what do you want me to be, God? Do you want me to be a recording artist? Do you want me to be a worship pastor? Do you want me to be a prayer room person? All these things that everyone's saying that these opportunities, that you can do. And I just heard him say, come down, like leave your ego,
mm,
leave pride, leave your religion, leave the green room that's at the top of the mountain where you feel superior and you feel entitled. Leave those dreams up there, come down from flesh and from you just your own agenda. And he brought me to Revelation 4:1, which is also just a scripture from my youth, where John is having this open visitation, and he heard a voice, a loud voice that said, come up here. And I believe that he really is calling to the worship movement right now, that it has done great things for God. His name has been known. It has like borne fruit. But I feel like he's saying, like, okay, the time at the mountaintop is done. Descend
mm,
from there and come up here. It's almost like
mm.
the backside,
Yeah.
come up. It's the hidden, lowly places. Come up to where I am. You think you're high. You think you're already at the peaks of these mountains. Come down from that, and I'm actually going to take you to an even higher place, which is the throne room. Like, worship leaders that are just immersed and long for the throne room realities, where they're just saying worthy, holy, glory, honor, power. Like, the
Mhm.
worship leaders that carry that vision, he's like, it's so much higher than your stupid little mountaintop where you feel good and powerful. Like, come down and I'll take you to real heights. And for me personally, I feel that urgency right now for myself.
Mm,
But also for if I had one prophetic word right now
mhm.
for the worship leaders, it's come down from there and come
Mhm.
up here.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. No, that's really good because it's like coming down from the heights that we've settled for that we think are high. Like some of it deals with even, the pull of popularity and
sure.
social media and all the things that aren't necessarily bad in of themselves, but there's a
Right.
there's a higher realm to
Right.
be familiar with and to come up into and to dwell in
Yeah.
100%. And that's where he wants to take us because that's the place from which, we really see the release of heaven
Right.
and heaven's activity into the earth.
Right.
I believe he's marking and he's raising up a company of worshipers who know how to ascend, how to
Right.
come up and be in the throne room, and then from that place do what needs to be done, legislate, wage war, praise, work,
Totally. Yes.
all the things. And I think too, Harvest, there's a maybe there's been a dullness on hearts that the Lord's just graciously starting to remove and reawaken hunger,
Right.
um,
Right. And I
hunger
think
for.
it's the kindness. I think church is not meeting in the past year. I think it was a tragic time for
Yeah.
our nation in the world, but honestly, like not attending church for a while and people being stripped of their position,
Mm.
stripped of their influence, stripped of their, everything. Like it leveled the playing field of,
Mhm.
this was never about you standing on a stage in front of people. It was never that. It was, can you maintain a close relationship with me when no one's watching you?
Oh,
And
that's
so
so good.
I think it kicked a lot of people in the teeth, and exposed a lot, which, like I said, I'm like, it's the kindness of the Lord. I think there was a lot of heart, soul searching in worship leaders that, I went in a time I didn't sing for like 6 to 7 months. And those identity questions of, am I enough? Like when I don't sing, am I still enough? Do I feel enough even to myself? Like, am I important? Am I contributing anything? And it's like, well, you can contribute to his heart, which is what you were supposed to be doing in the first place.
Right.
And so I think the Lord's gonna increase and do that more. I'm just praying for just protection over worship leaders and over Christian artists and songwriters and people in the Christian entertainment industry, of just this, like I said, come down from there and come up here, like just a return. And I believe God's going to do it. I really think he will.
Yes. That's so good. I think that's a good segue. It's a good transition point for us to carry on with our webinar attendees for the rest of our time together. So
Cool.
I am going to hit the button. I'm going to say goodbye. If you're watching on Facebook, we're getting ready to disappear. If you want to get in on this backstage pass, you can. The link is down in the comments. And you can get in here with us because we're getting ready to just have some time with our webinar attendees, answer some questions, and continue our conversation tonight. But thanks so much for joining us. You can go back and watch this whole thing if you're just like seeing this for the first time and you missed all of it. You can watch it on our Facebook page. God bless you guys. Have a super awesome night. We'll see you later.